Good afternoon, and welcome to Who's Tom and Dick? With your hosts, Martin Weavers and Patrick Mortimer.
Hello, Patrick. Good afternoon to you.
Hello, Martin. Still in the joys of Christmas we are?
Oh, God, yeah. Still plenty of wine and merriment. And
Yep, and all the decorations are up.
yeah, although I don't drink wine.
It must be merry around your house then.
But do you know what? I had this Christmas for the first time in 4 years.
No, what's that?
I had, not going to name it, but I had an Irish liqueur.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that is very bold of you.
I went to a certain store and I said to my wife that because we love a cheese board, and even more so at Christmas, and so we what we did, we got the cheese board out and I had a glass of this, and it's the first time I've actually drunk alcohol in 4 years.
Right.
So
You old devil, you.
I know. I'm going to save it for Christmas and special occasions.
And you had a good time with the family and everything went well?
Fantastic.
Excellent.
Fantastic.
Loads of goodies and presents and things to open.
Yeah, and Father Christmas came down my chimney.
Did he?
Yeah.
And I'm quite impressed with your Christmas trees. They look really good.
Did you like? Yeah.
Yeah.
I put it up myself.
Did you?
And for someone who doesn't like Christmas,
Yeah.
I ain't done a bad job. I'm quite pleased with it.
Yeah, you should be. You should
Good.
be. Yep.
Fantastic.
Anyway, so here we are, the last podcast of 2023.
Yeah,
Where's that year gone?
I know. And how many have we done? We've done about 13 now? 12?
This is our 14th podcast.
Our 14th one, wow.
Yeah.
14 weeks that we've been going out all over the world.
Yep, and our listeners still seem to be growing at the moment, so we're not putting anybody off too much at the moment.
No, and we hope that the listeners tell their friends as well.
Yeah.
All about what we get up to.
We had a nice Christmas cake, and I had a lovely chocolate log that Wendy makes. But the trouble is, it's made for me, and then the whole kids and grandkids get involved, and I get one slice in the end. But I do make sure I get an end because it's got more chocolate on.
So she leaves certain things out for you, does she?
No, she puts everything in.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I thought when you said it's a special log for you, it was because of your heart.
No, nothing to do with my heart. Heart.
So she just goes all hell for leather with it, and it is just specially for you.
Yeah.
Ah, right.
Unfortunately, everybody in the family likes it, and they all get a slice, and I make sure I have an end piece because obviously it's got a little bit more cream on.
And I bet it's all gone now, isn't it?
Yep, that was gone by Boxing Day. It doesn't hang around
after the football.
Yeah, not allowed Quality Street or Roses or any other makes of sweets in our house. No.
Oh, we always buy a tin for Christmas, but there's not many left.
Yeah, and have you seen the size of the tins compared with the 70s? I mean, they're minute.
It's the same with all chocolate bars.
Yeah.
I know. We're not sponsored by anybody, and we don't make any money out of doing this. But Mars Bar, for instance, look how they've shrunk over the years.
Yeah, I remember when we.
I've got bigger.
Well, possibly. I remember when we used to get the tin of Quality Street every year, and that was a big tin, and you shook it, and there was no rattle. That was packed with sweets, and now you get a tiny little tin and you shake it, and they rattle. You take the lid off, and there's about an inch gap before you get to the sweets.
Yeah.
So not only have they decreased the size of the container, they've also put less sweets in it as well. So
everything has got less in it.
Yeah.
I opened the other day a tin of Ronseal wood repair.
Yeah. What do you have that on your roast?
Yeah. Try a bit of gravy on it. It's lovely. But anyway, I opened this Ronseal, and it was halfway either to the top or halfway to the bottom, whichever way you want to go. But honestly, it was half a tin, and I showed the person I was talking to at the time. I said, "Look at this!" I said, "It's a half a tin."
Yeah.
So,
but you don't realise that when you pick it up in the hardware store, do you? You think
not half the price, though.
No, definitely not. We've got a bit of a break in our podcast today because we were on radio BBC Suffolk a few weeks back, and we've now managed to obtain the soundtrack of that. So we're going to play that for anybody who didn't hear that in the middle of the podcast. So that's something a little bit exciting to listen to and see how we performed.
That was a fantastic morning. I'll mention about that later on in my highlights.
Yeah. So that's really good. And that was with Wayne Bavin. No.
Get his name right. Wayne Bavin.
That was with Wayne Bavin.
Yes.
Yeah. So
and we tune into you now, Wayne, on the mornings.
Yep.
Patrick came over to me to do the recordings of these podcasts, and he had Radio Suffolk on in the car when I opened the doors.
Oh, I did, yeah.
So, and I listen to it here now instead of Radio 2, do you know? Yeah,
right.
I do.
Yep. Okay. So, what's on today's programme? Well, as I say, we've got the radio interview, and I'm going to be speaking about major bradycardia, which is something I've just found out I've got, apparently.
Yeah. That was a shock to the system when you told me that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a shock to my system a bit, but the more I look into it, I'm less worried, hopefully. I'm still waiting for further results and tests, but apparently it's a lot more common than one would think. Let's go on to your highlight, shall we, Martin?
Okay, my highlights for this year, well, first of all, it was starting the podcast because I didn't know what we was going to... I'd never done one before. I'd heard about podcasts, and I'm not a real... is it called a technophobe when you're very good with all the equipment?
Yeah.
No, I was a technophobe because I'm frightened of it. That's
okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not very good, and I know you suggested when I was laying in hospital that we could possibly do one, and like everything, I said yeah. And we did the first one, and that was a huge thrill. That was to actually do a podcast, and then found out that it was thousands of people listen to the podcast.
Yep, that's growing really rapidly at the moment.
What have we got any figures?
We're up to 27,000 downloads.
27?
Yeah.
Wow, oh God.
So not too bad, is it?
Yeah, in 14 weeks.
Yeah, I think most of them are Linny.
No, me.
Oh, right, okay.
It's coming from the same house.
But yeah, we've got our major listening bases in the USA, followed by UK. So, we've got to make our podcast international now.
Yeah, no, it was just so good making it, and we have a bit of fun, don't we? And we just chat away, and we don't script any of this. So if there's an and an R in things and a pause, it's because it's not, or we talk over each other.
I think most people realise we don't script this.
Do you reckon? But no, it's good fun though. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, carry on with your list of.
So my list of highlights, yeah. So interviewing our guests was a whole new ball game. I loved doing that, and we had Andy, Keith, and Shirley in this year. And not forgetting our girls, of course.
Yeah,
that was a different one altogether, wasn't it? Interviewing the girls, but just and we're still learning. Both of us, we talk to each other about what we do right and wrong. Well, we don't talk about each other what we do so much right, but we pick up on each other, and we're learning for how to do these interviews and all that. So I look forward to interviewing more people, and later on in the show we'll tell you who we've got lined up for next year. And I just can't wait. I was just saying to Patrick, I can't wait till we get our first celebrity.
Yeah,
that's what I want.
Well, we're working towards it.
Not that I'm disappointed at the guests that we've had, of course, because we've had some fantastic guests. We've had Andy, and we've had Keith, and we've had Shirley. So as well as I mentioned the girls as well. So that was fantastic interviewing them. And
I'm quite surprised though that all the guests that we've asked have only been too pleased to come on and tell us their stories, which is great. And, I'm sure we'll find a lot more throughout next year. And
the beauty of it is that I think, hopefully, we make them feel relaxed when they come on, because none of them are frozen, and none of them have said, "Oh, I don't know what to say next," or like this. They all can tell their own story, which is what we want you to do. When we have someone come on and they get interviewed, it is your show. It's not our show. Yes, we'll say a little bit at the beginning and a little bit at the end, but no, it's the person who we interview. And they can tell us all about their conditions and what they went through.
Well, I think they look at us and think, if them old farts can do it, I certainly can. And that's probably true as well.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the other highlights was obviously being interviewed on the Wayne Bavin breakfast show.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So some of us can get his name right.
Yeah. Well, the experience of doing it with Wayne gave us a bit of confidence, because obviously, we think we're amateurs at this. We realise that actually we're not doing too bad a job.
No, I mean we have listened back to it to see where we, what we said and what was mentioned. But Wayne stumbles a couple of words and that. So I think
he stumbles a lot actually. So
well, I didn't like to say that, Wayne.
That gave me a lot of confidence. Anyway.
He will crucify us if he does listen to this.
He's a good old boy.
Yeah. One of the other highlights for me for the year was something that you guys don't see. You don't see our broadcast or don't hear is my research. I do a lot of research on all the topics. I done one on the air ambulance, if you remember that one, Pat.
Yeah, I do.
And I really, really enjoyed doing all the research on that, and the breast cancer with the ladies in America that I did. I enjoyed that one, and I'm doing a new one in the new year, and that's going to be on strokes. Hopefully, I can get. I've got someone who I'd like to interview, so I'm going to have a word with them over the next few weeks to see if I can interview them.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. During Shirley's interview, she informed us that Tom Cruise actually had breast cancer.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
So hopefully we'll be looking to get him on the show at one stage or another. Hope you're listening, Tom, out in the USA.
Yeah,
he
tunes in every week, I think.
I think this is only our 14th podcast, but I've learned a lot since we've been doing it.
I think you do.
By doing the research on my actual illness has highlighted a few elements that I haven't really realised and asked any questions about.
You never question yourself, do you, really? You just carry on.
Well, you listen to the doctors, don't you? And you take their advice and take the tablets and do what they tell you, and that's about it. But when you actually delve into it, there's all sort of markers and test results and things that relate to your illness that you pay no attention to because they're technical.
Yeah.
But when you start looking into them, they're really interesting. You start comparing them with others. You realise what sort of position you are in that illness scale.
Yeah, that's right. The other things that I've looked at was announcing my reduction of my cancer. That is such fantastic news to have to tell everybody, and it just shows you that to give hope.
Well, were you ever at a position where you had no hope?
Well, not so much no hope, but what I was going to get to was that the scan before showed that the cancer had grown again.
Right, yeah.
But then I was with no treatment whatsoever for 14 weeks, something like that. All the time I was in hospital, and it was just no chance while I was on the other tablets to have any cancer treatment. And then suddenly, bang, I come out of hospital and I get on regular cancer treatment. And then I had that reduction in the cancer, which hardly shows. I mean, I've shown you the scans, and they're just it's not a thing we could really put on the website to show people, is it?
No, I don't think so. But it's quite obvious the improvement that's been made.
Yeah,
it's not a simple little improvement; it's a massive improvement.
I know, and it makes you just wonder that if those tablets that I'm on. The loratinib, if those tablets have shrunk it to that, how much more are they going to shrink it? So fingers crossed on that one. Fingers crossed.
The very worst case, hopefully they'll keep it at bay. And
this is what I think the doctor that I'm with. I think he said he just wants to keep it. He feels that he's got it under control.
I remember when you were laying in hospital, one thing you said to me, and I've remembered this for a long time. And you said to me one day, "I don't remember when I actually felt well." The last, and that's quite I'm sure a lot of people are going through that. When did I actually have a normal day where I felt well?
I can remember saying it to myself, but I didn't know I said it actually to you. And I knew I said it to my wife, but that is fact, Pat. Yeah, I did say that. I just felt so rough every single day, and every day I woke up blurry, not double vision or anything like that, but just a thing going on in my head. And now it's just lovely to get up, and I'm looking out of the window as we're doing this recording here, and it's gorgeous, isn't it, Pat?
Yeah, well, I think it's a bit like obviously not like having a hangover, but when you have a hangover, you just feel not there.
That is a similar,
you feel as if you're in space, don't you? And you're not right.
Yeah, your head just feels muggy.
Yeah.
Every day my head was muggy, and God, I fancy you remembering that.
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah,
I do take notice of what you say sometimes. But that hit home a bit. I thought, I've had times like that when you think, oh, I've had this for so long now, I don't remember what it was like to be well.
Yeah, it seems such a long time though, that's why.
And the longer you have it, the more you think, I'm never going to feel well again.
Well, leading up to that 2 months that I had in hospital, I'd had some chest infections that they couldn't clear up. So obviously I'd had 2 months of intense, therapy and tablets in hospital. But before that, I'd had a course of steroids for 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks before, so that was another month. So for 3 months in a year, and then probably, I don't know what part of the year at that time it was that I said it to you, but that's just how I felt.
There must have been times really when poor old Linny was sitting here alone at home thinking, is he ever going to come back? Is this it?
She did. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, she never mentioned that when we interviewed her, but she's told me since, and as I look down here, my little dog's fast asleep in his little basket here, and he had to be, because Linny was in hospital, fair time with me. We had a lady look after him, and she was coming home to nobody.
Yeah,
and she said that's when it hit home that one day that it could happen. So to get the news, that we did, and that's why we're over the moon, and just we're so incredibly thankful for this new tablet.
You had so many false starts as well, didn't you? You sort of got better, and your numbers got better and better, and then they released you, and then within a couple of days you were back again.
That's right.
You had to work from stage 1 again, and that just kept going on.
Yeah. Well, at one point, my blood markers were over 500. And they should be below 10, so that's how ill I was, and I think I went through some right grey days. But I'm quite a strong person, quite a strong character. I was just determined to get through it all for my wife. And
I remember our texts every day. It always started, "How's your blood markers today?"
That's right.
It was almost like a score.
It was. That's what I lived for.
Yeah.
Every day I lived for my markers to go down, and when they went up, I was going through a little period where they kept coming down and down and down. Then suddenly they stopped one day and they went back up again, and I thought, I haven't done anything to make this go back up again, and then suddenly it's gone up. But they were the days when I felt down. But I mean, as I said, your texts and your visits as well, they certainly kept me pecker up, as they say.
Good.
So, it's
well, I
fantastic.
suppose the nurses and doctors were experimenting with you as well to a certain extent, because they were trying to identify what the problems were.
Yeah, they never really knew exactly.
No.
Until I got the pneumonia.
So that's one definite. Not a highlight on your list, but the results that you received recently is...
That was a highlight.
That just goes to prove that, even in your darkest days, there's still hope. Yeah. And now today proves that, because you're sitting here probably feeling the best you've ever felt.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, I feel, when I think back to then and when I feel what I am now, oh, God, I'm a different person.
Yeah.
Even in myself.
Not from where I'm sitting.
But, going on my last highlight for the year that I've written down. I mean, there's so many with this podcast, as I say, and talking to all the people on the chats that we have. That's nice. So keep coming through with all your little chats and all that, because we will at times be putting random topics that we'd like you to get involved with. And there was one topic that we had. I can't remember what it was. I think it might have been the breast cancer. And what?
It's just your memory.
No, I know.
I'm going to talk about a topic now, but I can't remember what it was.
It's terrible. We spoke about something a little bit, but quarter of an hour ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I couldn't actually remember a single word of the conversation that we had, could I?
Yeah, that's these drugs.
That's what I blame them on.
I think you were thinking I was Linny and you were just sort of blanking it out.
But going back to this, the conversations on these chats, one girl wanted to put something on there, and she was frightened to be the first. So I said to her, please put it on there, because you will then start other people, putting it on. So don't be worried about being the first person to put it on our chats. We love you putting things on the chats, and we can then talk about them in our shows. The last thing I want to talk about on my highlights list, which I probably missed quite a few things out, is hearing about our viewing figures. I instead of ringing you up or texting you now and telling you what my
blood markers are,
markers are, I find out what the viewing figures are.
Yeah.
So
Well, they've been going up steadily from day one, and we're just over the 27,000 mark now.
Wow, I can't believe it. And then, as I said, you said we got all these likes on Apple Pod or whatever. I don't know what they are.
Yeah, and we also hit a great target, or a milestone, shall I say, of 400 5-star likes on Apple Podcast.
Wow. I mean, I don't know what that means, but that sounds really impressive.
Nor do I, but I mean, 5 stars is better than 1 star, and we haven't got a 1 star yet, but now probably the people listening will say, well, I'll give you a 1 star just so you've got
and
one.
400 is better than one.
Well, it's good, yeah. So the analytics of the podcast are all very, very positive moving forward for 2024.
But if you can now tell me some of your highlights, Pat.
Well, yeah, I mean, one big highlight was you finally getting out of hospital, really. That was good.
Thank you.
Seeing you in there sometimes, that was sort of quite sad, because you were fighting as hard as you could be fighting, but you weren't making much progress.
I know.
And then when we thought you got you out, you're back again.
Yeah.
Get this text and a picture. You never guess where I am. And it was you fixed up to a drip and goodness knows what, and thought, oh God, we're back again.
But the funny thing is, people don't actually. I mean, you never said that while I was there, and you never think, or you never know what people are thinking.
No.
And you just carry on with your illness.
Yeah.
And then you hope you sort of get better. But thank you, mate.
Yeah, well, you want to be positive when you come in and see you, and try and lift you. And then I talked about Arsenal, and it went downhill from there. And, so we're obviously trying to boost your confidence. And
well, you got me into this fantasy football league thing, which I have to tell everybody, I've tried them in the past. I don't know if they have them in America for their American football or anything like that. I'm sure they do, but it's where you pick 11 players who you think are the best in the Premiership for a certain amount of money, and you sit and watch them come bottom of my league. So I just gave up on those because every year I came bottom of every league that I did, ever. So anyway, Pat said, let's do this. So I started, and he kept texting me, encouraging me, have you done your team yet? And I thought, right, damn it, I'm going to do it now. And I did it. And guess who's bottom of our league? Patrick.
Yeah, and you have a look at the players I selected recently, and they've been performing. When the team scored 6 goals, my players get about 1 point because they're not involved or been sidelined. So I still don't know what I'm doing, really.
But you only have to look at the person who's just one place above him, and that's me. So we've got a little personal sort of competition between ourselves. But I've found my players when are scoring in Europe, but they don't score in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So it's just how frustrating this football thing is.
I know, but it keeps you interested, doesn't it?
It does. And you got me into that. So,
yeah. I suppose the other highlight was actually starting this podcast, getting all the equipment, doing a lot of reading before we actually did our first episode, and trying to understand what we were going to do and how we were going to do it and what we should do, what was popular, what wasn't popular, how long the podcast should be. So many things that got so involved in the end.
The name?
I thought we're never going to start it. Yeah, and then we come up with the name. We were trying to think of a name. The name Who's Tom and Dick is rhyming Cockney slang for who's sick. So we wanted to put our illnesses in the title in some shape or form, but we didn't want it to be obvious. So that's how we've come up with Who's Tom and Dick. And in some respects, I wish I hadn't, because I've been asked, who's Tom and Dick? Who's Tom? Who's Dick? And we're both a couple of dicks, really, but there you go.
I'm Tom.
I knew you'd say that.
But the good thing is, I mean, we get lots of new people listen. So this is why for people who have listened all the time, you might hear that Patrick's had a heart attack and he goes for scans, and I've got my cancer. So we have to repeat it for the new people, don't we, Pat?
Yeah, I think we're going into the new year, and the show's going to be a little bit less topical and more fun. And of course, we're going to be serious where we need to be serious.
Yeah.
Because we're not dealing with a subject that is funny.
Especially when we have our guests in, because obviously that's their show, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think what we're trying to present here, more than anything, is a positive mental attitude and a positive look out on life, and to try and to help us all, deal with our cancer, but in a normal way. We don't want to be singled out as people who are ill.
I'm sitting here nodding because I'm agreeing with everything Pat's saying here. Yeah, I know, I agree, mate.
So it's hard sometimes to be positive, especially when you get bad results. You're always going for these results, hoping they're going to be good results. So it is hard. So we're trying just to present a little bit of positivity. I think the biggest thing is keeping your mind active, isn't it, Martin?
Yeah, this certainly does.
You know, and I've just been for an ECG over the last month or so, and I've found out I've got bradycardia, and that's being investigated now. So another unknown for the future. But stay positive, and I'll talk about that a little bit later in another podcast when I know more about it.
Yeah, no, we'll look forward to that.
Yes, going on from that was my other highlight of the year, talking about podcasts, but then obviously things in my private life. There's been some good bits and pieces going on. So
your new house?
The new house that we're waiting to be built, which is slow but sure. Ipswich Town's results in the Championship, doing well this season, as are Arsenal. The other thing that we've got going is our Facebook page. We'd like as many people to join that as possible, because that's a great forum for discussion. And we can post, or you can post anything you like on there. And you'll get a lot of response from like-minded people.
And that's where we start our conversations, don't we, when we do those, with the chats?
That's the easiest forum to sort of utilise, really, isn't it?
And you'll see our ugly mugs are on there, a little cartoon picture, and just put your comments on there. Or you can leave messages on the website, the web page as well. If you've gone through something and you've come through the other end and you're fighting fit again, and you want to let the whole world know, just let us know. Let us know first, and then we can broadcast it on our podcast.
Yeah, or just as importantly, you know, if you're starting the journey, you know, if you've just been diagnosed and you need some support or any questions answered.
Yeah.
You're not alone.
You're not, and I mean, we can only give you advice on what we've gone through with, I mean, obviously mine is the cancer, the lung cancer, and Patrick is the heart attacks. But, you know, we're all going to go through different things, but we may not all go through the same thing, you know, similar kind of illness.
Yeah, the other thing on the forum as well, if we can't answer the questions, somebody else might be able to, because, you know, it's there for interaction. And there's a lot of people on there who have got illnesses or had illnesses. They're there to comment too, so you might get some help from elsewhere.
Yeah, and they're definitely only their comments. They're not medical experts or anything like that. The comments we want on our pages are only what you've gone through your life experience of your illnesses and things like that. So
we've rambled on quite a bit today, Martin, haven't we?
I know. Well, we've been talking about the highlights and all that, so we didn't want to get a visitor in or anything like that today.
Did you watch that film you set out to watch?
Forrest Gump?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you still ain't watched it?
I mentioned it, didn't I, at Christmas? So, no, I never saw it.
Right. So that's your challenge this week then.
I'll get DVD.
Watch Forrest Gump. I did see before Christmas that Tom has just opened up his exhibition in London on space travel.
I saw that.
That looks quite a good event. I think I'll try and get to that.
Now, I reckon a lot of our American listeners might sort of have views on that as well. So if they've seen something about it, but it did look good. I saw it advertised on TV just before Christmas.
I'm sure that will travel, that show. I'm sure it will go to other countries because, you know, it's something we all take an interest in, space travel.
Definitely. And we've got two people going to go to the moon again.
Yeah. But did they walk on the moon the first time? This is a question you always ask me and think that's rigged.
This is another program. This is another kind of topic on a podcast, I think.
Yeah.
But I really, really, really hope they did land on the moon, because as a kid, I was well into it and I was watching it every, you know, sort of time they broadcast it on TV and all that. I remember watching it on TV, the live. Did you watch it?
Yeah. I think it's safe to say that it happened.
Yes, let's just say it happened.
Most definitely. Definitely. Yeah, so I don't know whether you're ready, but it's time for your joke of the week.
My joke of the week. Well, I've got a fantastic one to finish the year on, because I've had so many letters of
complaint,
applause about my jokes. And one person who was very kind to my jokes the other day was Hazel Wood. So I want to thank Hazel Wood. She tuned in from the very first podcast, as probably a lot of people have as well. So this is. But I can only mention Hazel because she's
your fan, your only fan.
She's not, but she does communicate with us, and this is what we want you all to do. So we get to know your names as well. But so my joke of the week. This is the big one, the whole one that's going to finish the whole year. What's the difference between a hippo and a Zippo? One's really heavy and the other is a little lighter. Thank you.
See, you never got a wah this week.
I didn't. I told you it was going to be a good one.
End of December, so I thought I'd just give you a round of applause.
Thank you. I'm better explain for people who may not know what a Zippo is.
Yeah, what is a Zippo?
It's a lighter, one of those little Zippo. It's a make.
Oh, right.
So hippo being heavy.
Yeah.
God, you have to explain your jokes to them.
Yeah. Okay, perhaps I am. After all, well, it is that time of the week, I'm afraid, where we are coming to a close. But we're going to put on this extended version our radio interview that we had. We're going to play the soundtrack to that. So those of you that didn't hear it, this is your chance if you want to stay tuned to listen to it.
And also, we've got to mention who we've got coming on next year.
Of course, you can do that.
Can I?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So we've got Dr. Daniel Patterson, one of the top oncologists in the whole of the UK. He's going to come on. So don't forget, if you've got any questions that you want to ask him, perhaps put them on our Facebook page. Or on Messenger, or on the
website,
wherever you like. Press that little blue button and say, this is a message for Dr. Daniel Patterson. And he's the top oncologist who'll answer all your questions on lung cancer. That's what he'll be talking to you about.
Is that his specialist lung cancer then?
Yeah, he's one of the top ones in the country.
Okay. Well, we're going to say to you, we wish you all the best, health, happiness, and look forward to a successful 2024. There is a future.
Ditto.
You can now listen to our radio interview with Wayne Bavin on BBC Breakfast Radio.
Rick Astley, Forever and More, another song recorded in his garage. He's got a recording studio in his garage, News with Kelly in a moment. After 9, we are meeting two incredible people. We are going to be meeting, what they're called, we're going to be meeting Tom and Dick. Who's Tom and Dick, you ask? Well, I'm going to ask that very same question. They're two guys behind the Tom and Dick podcast. Two Suffolk boys trying to provide help and support and information. Why? Find out in about 20 minutes.
On the BBC Sounds app, on your smart speaker,
play BBC Radio Suffolk.
And on your radio.
The sound of Suffolk is
BBC Radio Suffolk.
Now, next on Wayne Bavin at Breakfast, let's meet two gentlemen. Let's meet Tom and Dick. Well, kind of. Illness and health issues can, for many, be a hugely difficult part of life, something you have to live with and get on with. My next guests have both been through their fair share of ill health, but they're now using their experiences to try and help others. They've put together their own podcast. Now, with me is Martin Weavers from Bury St Edmunds and Patrick Mortimer from Sudbury. They both join me now. Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Howdy.
Good to have you in. Now, the podcast is called Who's Tom and Dick, but neither of you are called Tom or Dick.
Correct.
Who's going to explain this one?
Well, it really comes from the Cockney rhyming slam, Who's Tom and Dick, Who's Sick? But we didn't really want a podcast called Who's Sick, did we?
Not really,
so,
no.
That's how we come about that.
We actually wanted people to listen.
Yeah.
Now, let's find out about your own your personal health issues. So Patrick, what's...
Yeah, about 14 years ago, I had a heart attack. I've got heart disease in the family. Come out a bit of a surprise. 10 years later, almost to the day, I had a second heart attack. Living with heart disease is a bit of a struggle at times. But, it surprised me how people deal with it in different ways. When I went for my rehabilitation, there was me who was jolly and joking around, and others who were completely depressed and almost given up on life. So, it's a mental health issue as well, how you deal with it mentally, and we're all different.
And Martin?
And I've got lung cancer, stage 4. I found out that I was chesty refereeing a football match. I used to be a semi-professional football referee, and I was refereeing. I went there to the doctors with a cough, and thinking it was a thing from the COVID that I'd had, and had the shock of my life when they said it was adenocarcinoma, which is lung cancer, and you could have knocked me down with a feather. I really didn't expect that they were going to diagnose cancer, but it's made me give up my career, which I was singer of a tribute band to the Bay City Rollers. I've had to give that up now because meeting people, I'm likely to get an infection, and that's the last thing I want is an infection because it hospitalises me. But they've now found a revolutionary drug for me, which is fantastic, called lorlatinib. And I since I've had that, it's now started to shrink my cancer, believe it or not.
So stage 4, that's serious, isn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah, because I never had any signs for stages 2 or 3, but I don't know how many stages that there are after. Life expectancy is 2 to 4 years, but the guy who I'm with, the oncologist, a guy called Dan Patterson, who's coming on our podcast soon, isn't he?
Yeah.
He says that he's treating people 6-7 years down the line. So I want to be the person who's 8 years down the line.
It must have been a huge wrench to give up your career as a performer. That
oh God,
that adrenaline you get on a stage. To have that no longer in your life must have been a big.
Well, I went out with a big bang. I got on Eggheads, so that was quite nice. Yeah, and I've been on Bargain Loving Brits just lately. So because I lived in Benidorm for 3 years, so it's been But I've got other things in my life now, and it was thanks to Patrick when I was laying in my hospital bed with pneumonia this year. I was in hospital for 2 months, and I said that I might start my Facebook live shows again where I just used to sing. Pat said, "Do you fancy starting up a podcast?" And that's how it came about.
So have you two been friends for a while?
Yeah, for a long time. We were a comedy double act in the 80s, 90s.
Oh my God, a couple of performers here.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
We've been on Michael Barrymore and Des O'Connor. Name drop there, ka-ching.
So you were a comedy double act for a while?
We were, yeah. For quite some time. We toured the country, didn't we?
Yeah.
Entered a few talent competitions.
Yeah.
Won a few, lost a few.
Lost a few.
Yeah. So, we've known each other for a long, long time. So it was a natural progression to do something silly.
Obviously drifted apart when I went to Spain a bit, didn't we? But we still kept in contact, didn't we?
Who was the straight man and who was the funny man in the double act?
Well, what you're looking at us now. What would you think?
You're going to be the funny man.
No,
he's going to be the funny man.
Yeah. Everyone thought it was the other.
That was an impossible question.
I know
to
everybody
answer.
thought it was the other way around. Well, yeah, because you've never seen us. But,
no.
But in the 2 minutes that you've known us,
Yeah.
So you two have these health conditions which are life limiting and life threatening. But Patrick, this podcast has come about is because you want. Well, you tell us why.
Well, really, it's just to sort of we take it really seriously, our illnesses. There's no doubt about that.
Oh yeah,
and we're not making a joke about it at all. But we're really, I think we're bemused by the number of people who are very depressed about the illness once they get it and struggle to come to terms with it. So, since I had my heart attack, I got my pilot's license back, which was a tricky thing to do. I got a race license. So I wanted to prove to myself that there is life after a heart attack. In America, they call it the widowmaker. I think that speaks for itself. So, it's just really trying to put a little different spin on the thing and let people know that they're not alone. Men are hard at talking about things, and we find that in our the questions that we get asked. They're normally all from women. It's just a case of letting people know what we've got, how we deal with it. We're pushing on with our lives, not letting things stop us. That's really the reason, isn't it, Martin?
Yeah.
Two Suffolk boys just letting people know, living with these conditions isn't the end of a life.
Exactly.
And to make the most out of life?
Well, we enjoy ourselves. We have a good laugh on the podcast, don't we?
Yeah.
And we invite people in as well. As I said, we've got one of the top oncologists in the country coming in. We've got Macmillan who are coming in, and the people are queuing up to be on the podcast at the moment. So I'd like to get the a very, very famous lady who's in pantomime quite locally to come on.
Vicky Michelle?
No. Is she local in?
She's at Ipswich Regent this Christmas. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but she may not have been ill. I don't think she's been ill. But
so all your guests, if they don't know about illness, will have been living with their own illnesses.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, we had a guy who, because we go to a club on Wednesdays called Sport and Memories.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah. Well, Andy came on because he'd had 2 heart attacks, and the guy who runs it. So.
Well, you'd had 1 cardiac arrest.
Cardiac arrest, not a heart attack. I must get that right.
Do you think the pair of you, your background in show business and entertainment has led to your positivity in some ways?
I think we've always been pretty positive, haven't we?
Yeah.
I think that's, you either are or you're not. So it's difficult to be positive or if you're negative. And that came across in the rehabilitation that I went to. I walked into the room and did what they said we had to do. And as I walked out with 10 other people, one guy turned to me and said, "Well, that's a waste of time, isn't it?" And that's the attitude you're coming up against. And no, it isn't a waste of time. And you need to talk about these things.
And it's proof of the pudding. Look, 10 years after his first one, and he's still going strong.
Yeah.
This is another thing as well. When you are ill, if you are quite cheery and matter of fact about things, and you say you take it very seriously, but if you do joke about, people might think, "Oh, he's not as ill as he makes out." There's this kind of stigma that if you're ill, you have to be all down like that because I'm ill.
Well, I had a blue badge incident where I parked my car in the supermarket, and this lady said, "You're an insult to people. You are parking in space. Yeah, parking in spaces where blue badge holders should park." So I said, "Hold on a minute, madam." So I went back and I got my blue badge out of my car, and then she hid her head in a paper and wouldn't speak to me again. I did mention to her that not all illnesses are visible. But,
really good point.
Yeah.
How many episodes of the podcast have you done so far then, Patrick?
Well, we're on number 9 at the moment, and 10 comes out on Friday, and that's a very interesting one because it's including our wives.
Yeah, we're nervous about this one.
The carers side of the illness.
You've had 15,000 downloads since it launched just 6-7 weeks ago. Wow.
Yeah, we're up to 19,000 this morning.
It's going incredibly well, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got a lot of listeners in USA because I think they tend to talk about things more out there. And,
I think it's because of my joke of the week. That's why we're so popular.
Yeah.
They tune in for that.
Yeah. He's got a little jingle for that, but that's clearing up nicely.
Did you not bring it?
I might. I have actually got a joke of the week. Would you like to hear it, Wayne?
Yeah, cool. Are you ready next door for joke of the week?
It's clean.
Good.
From Who's Tom and Dick podcast, yeah? Off we go. Are you sure it's clean?
Yeah, definitely.
You are? Right, go on in.
Just to let you know that my uncle has just opened a balloon shop and he's made a fortune. And guess what he did with the money? He blew it.
Oh.
You see, that's what I have to put up with, Wayne.
How long have you been friends for?
93 we become friends, didn't we?
Yeah.
Listen, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
Who's Tom and Dick? People can get it from all the usual places.
Yeah.
That's nice to, because normally we record our podcast in Martin's kitchen, which is in the depths of Norfolk, so it's nice to be in a studio with electricity and lights. Isn't it?
You don't live in Norfolk, do you now?
I've just gone over the border, only just. But I'm going to come back.
Do you know what, Patrick? There's something doing the rounds today that says people who live in Norfolk and in particular Norwich are the biggest grumps when it comes to Christmas, the biggest Scrooges.
I'm in Thetford.
You're kind of on the border. We'll let you off, I suppose.
Yeah.
Who's Tom or Dick? Tom and Dick. Then it's available right now. The episode 10 dropping tomorrow.
We've got a Facebook page as well that people can get them all the episodes. Which Patrick always tells me what the Facebook page is. www.whostomandick.com. Yeah, Who's Tom and Dick.
You clearly love doing it.
Yeah, it's good fun.
The showman and performers in you never leaves, does it?
No.
And the friendship between me and him as well. That'll never leave.
We're both happily married, aren't we?
We are. So each other.
So our wives tell us anyway.
Yeah.
What's it like for your wives? Because they'll be worried about you and concerned about you.
Well, this is the next episode.
Right.
So everybody will have to actually tune in on Friday to find out.
Yeah, I think the difference...
They tell us on live. We said, no hold, barred. You tell us how you feel. because they have to look after us, grumps and all.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
I'm going to start Googling now to find some old YouTube footage of you on the telly. Did you feel inspired listening to Who's Tom and Dick, Patrick and Martin? I certainly did. Don't forget their podcast is out right now. Episode 10 drops tomorrow. Who's Tom and Dick? Search for it in your usual podcast place and you'll find it. Have a listen. Right, we'll get the travel in just a moment.
Well, there you go. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Wayne Bavin on BBC Radio Breakfast.
I hope they enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed doing it.
Yeah, it's brilliant, wasn't it? Great experience for us.
Worth getting up early in the morning for.
Yep.
Another year gone by.
And we've got loads packed in the future programmes for you, so it's going to be an exciting year.
And we hope you have a fantastic 2024.
Ditto.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.